So in the last section, we started talking about HTML tags. We talked about HTML tags. Also talked about how you can use various functions in Shiny to use this particular HTML tags. So these HTML tools was extracted from Shiny. It was used in building Shiny. So this allows you to use various HTML elements. So when you run some of this, it's going to generate HTML code for you. So I should run this particular hello world, and I run this tag, you can see I get hello world. So you can either call tags using the HTML tools tags, the tags function from the HTML tools package. This is the method. So use this particular method, or you could just call them using the HTML tag functions direct. So either of these will work. You see hello shiny, I get an h1 tag with hello shiny, and also I get an h1 tags also with hello shiny. So these are both, any of them can work. You can just use this or you use this. So this is also for nav, the nav tag. But when I do this now, it doesn't work. So the reason why nav doesn't work is that not all of these particular tags are exported by default. So most of the common ones are exported, such as h1, p, div, but nav is not exported by default. So that's why you used to use the tags with the method. So to be on the safer side, just make sure when you're calling a tag, always just use the tags and the method. So you to call that particular tag, use the tags function, and you use various HTML tags to call the method that you want to use. If you have a collection of tags and you want to work with it, you use the with tags. So these with tags, you can be used to create various groups of tags. If I should run this now, you can see that I have a collection of various tags. So when you want to write a collection of tags, you use this particular with tags. Instead of running it like this, it's easier if you do that. You could still get the same thing, but this actually looks clumsy. So instead of running it like this, you just use the with tags and you put in all what you want to do. So once you use the with tags, that's, you don't need to be calling tags with the $sign every time. Once you use the with tags. So if you want to gather multiple tag lists, you have two methods to use. So you can see we have this first method. You use the tag list function, then you put in your various tags, and you have the list. So what we mean by tag list is that a list of various tags. So we have the list. So if I should run both of these now, I should just run this, and I should run this. Now let me show you the structure to see that both of them are the same, but this is more optimal than this. So when I run this, and I also run this. So the thing is that the first one presents as a shiny tag list, while this one presents itself just as a regular list. Then how do you know? Is because when you look at this attribute, you can see something called shiny.tag.list here. We cannot actually see that in this. If you go here, you can actually see shiny.tag.list, but when you come here, you cannot see it, and this is very, very important. Another way to also find out why we want to always use tag lists when you have a multiple tag list together. If I come here and I say it as.character, now I'm applying it on my first tag list, which is tag list 1. You can see that it is giving me my HTML, my raw HTML. But if I apply it on the second one, tag list 2, you can see what I'm getting. I'm getting a list. The problem is that we have already used our list to create it. We are supposed to use the list that is meant specific for HTML elements. So always use tag list when you want to gather multiple lists together. And you can also write tags using raw HTML in the HTML function. This is just raw HTML now, and I'm using the div. So this is the div now. You can see div, and the U tag is here. Hello world. So if you want to write raw HTML, use the HTML function. Now look at this first example we did now. If you want to write raw HTML, use the HTML function. You don't just put it inside a div tag, because if you put it in a div tag, you look at what you are going to get. You can see what we are getting now. So HTML is going to be escaping. So R is not going to be able to recognize But when you use the HTML function in a div tag, you can see you get the right HTML script. So always use the HTML function. And when you check the class of both of them, you can see that one is an HTML character. But when you check the class of just a normal text inside a div function, you can see it's just saying it's a shiny tag. So they both have different classes. So you can also create your own tags. So how do I create my own tags now? You can also create my own HTML tags. So this is now an element. I'm trying to create an element now. This can be very important when you are building a complex application whereby you want some tags to be, some elements to be in a particular tag. You can also assign that particular tag a particular JavaScript function and things like that. So I'm going to be using the div function, which is a div tag. So mostly a div tag is just a plain tag where you can put in various HTML tags. So this class now is a container and the ID is main. I'm giving it an ID of main and I'm putting in a p tag here. I can put in also other tags that I want, and I'm giving it an image. So image.png. Let's say I have an image and class is thumbnail and this is the ID. So when I run this now and I call my element, so you can see that I'm having this particular div tag. So this way I've already created my own HTML tag. So if you want to create your own shiny tag, for example, now I'm going to be using the div. So the div can contain any HTML elements. It's just like a container. I'm going to be giving the class of container. I'll give it an ID of main, and this is my p tag. As you can see, I can also add another p tag here. All right, so this is wonderful, and I put in my comma. So once I put in my comma now, you can now see that if I should run this now and have image, you can see also have an image tag here, image tag, where I should run this, is to see that I'm going to get, you can see I have my HTML, or this is my shiny tag. So this is my shiny tag. So this is just like a collection, or I have a group of elements inside. This is just my shiny tag I did here. So if I want to access the name of this particular shiny tag I created, I'm going to say my elements, and I'm going to use the method access the name method. You can see the name we gave it earlier on is a div. So that is the name, is a div. And if it's attributes, what are the attributes? I could return its attributes. So these are the attributes. Its class is container and its ID is main. So, and if I want to access the children, particular shiny tag I created, I'm going to say my elements children. So under this, you can now say I'm getting the p tag, because we have 3 elements. We have 2 p tags and we have the image tag that is there. So that is why you can see we're having what 3 elements. When I access what these elements, my elements children. If I want to check the structure of this particular tag, you can see this is the structure. It contains almost all the informations about this tag. You can see the name, you can see the attribute, container, main, you can see the children. These are the list of the children, list of 3. So you can see these are the children that we have, and each children has its own characteristics under it. You can see we have the attributes, the children. If the children actually have another children, then you can actually see it by just running this str my elements. You can also modify what is in your shiny tag. For example, now I want to modify my elements now. So what I want to do now, you can see I'm trying to modify it. So my element under the children, if I say my elements children, this is what you are going to see. Let's start with that. So I'm trying to access that second tag, which is this is wonderful. So okay, this should be 3 because I already changed the code earlier on. So because we're having 3 elements now, so this should be 3. I want to access that image. So when I should do that, when I do that now, you can see we have our image tag. So this means, then you might ask, why don't we just use a single bracket? So the problem that when you use a single bracket, you see now, you're actually just getting that particular list, because this element itself that you are seeing will actually also be a list of other elements. So this is just more or less like a list containing this image inside. So I've not actually accessed the image itself or the image tag itself. So now I can actually modify elements inside my shiny tag. So you can see that we have our third element, This is our third element. This is it, which is that image. So what I'm going to be doing now, if I want to access that image itself, so this is the code. I'm using a double bracket, because if we use a single bracket, we are not actually going to get the element. We'll just get the list or the tag list containing that element. So this is it here. We have it here. You can see this particular image tag containing our image. Now I can actually change this. I'm just saying second children attribute src, so I can access this now. You can see, what do I have when I call this? I have image.png. so when you come here to that particular str we run on the my element, you can see that the src here is image.png, and I want to change it to passport.png. I'm going to run this now, and I'm going to call my element first. You can see it has already changed to. So if you look at it now, why is it not working? Well, don't forget, we actually created a variable here from this element, so it's actually applied to this, not the main my element. So if I actually want to apply it on my element itself, then this is what I was going to do. So if you want to apply it on the element itself, then we can just do this. You can say my elements children, then we now say passport.png. This is my elements children. We want to get the third. We want to get that particular image tag, and I now say attributes. Then I will now say src. Then we'll now apply the passport.png. If I should call my elements now, you can see that has already changed to passport.png. Now, if I should call the str on my elements now, you can see that we have you have passport.png. So this was actually a mistake. So I'm just going to change this here. So it's a mistake, and yeah, so we have the right one here now. So this is it. Now, if you want to add attributes to a tag now, you're just going to what? So for example, now we have this tag called my tag. So we have this tag now, my tag, and I want to add an attribute to it. So what I'm just going to do, I'm going to be using the tag append attributes. So when I call this tag append attributes now, and I call the my tag, you can see I've already added the attribute ID. So this is very important, because you can use it to dynamically add attributes to your Shiny tags. If you want to add many attributes, you also use the tag append attributes, and you specify your tag. Then here you can now put the various attributes you want to add. You can see data toggle, which is tabs, class, which is my class. When I run this now, you can see most of these attributes has already been added. So this is a tag append attribute. It's very important for adding attributes. So another approach also is to use this, well, but this is not optimal. So it's just to use this particular $sign, since we know that we can actually access the attributes is actually a method of a particular tag. You can actually use this $sign to just add a new attribute to this. So when I call this now, you can see if I call my tag, you can see that it's going to add new value. Data toggle already added data toggle to this, and also I can add a class to this, but this is better. You can use this tag append attributes. How can you check if a div has a particular tag? So if you have a div, you want to check if it has a tag, you use this div function. You use this tags as attribute function. So when I run this now, I've already created a div now with the class my class, but I want to know if it has this attribute called class, because now I created my class. So this should actually return false. So I'm going to run it. So I want to check whether this particular div now has this attribute called class. So I'm going to run this, and you see I should get true. But what if I say ID? What should I have? I should have something like false, because I don't have any ID class here. But if I should specify that my ID is equals to my ID, when I should run this, you will notice that it's returning true for me, because I actually have this particular ID. So this tag as attribute allows you to be able to specify, allows you to be able to check if a div has a tag. So if you want to get an attribute from a particular Shiny tag, then This is our attribute. We just created a class test. This is an attribute we have, which is test. Now I'm going to what? Now use the tag get attribute. This time I not tag has attribute to return the class. So this is after using this function. If I know that it has a particular attribute, let's say ID, then I can now return what that attribute name is. So this is where I'm now going to be using tag get attribute. Now if I said it should return ID, it's going to give me null because I don't actually have an ID attribute in this particular div. What if I want to create children for a given tag? So if you want to create children, let's say for example now I have this div here called my tag, and I've given it a class of parents. I give it an ID of father, and I have what father in this place. So when I run this now, what should I have? If I should call my tag, so you can see that this is just a plain text that is in this place. So if I want to add a child to this particular tag that I have, I'm now going to say what child should be equals to span daughter. So this span daughter that I see is also another element. I'm sorry, it's child I'm supposed to call. This is also another HTML element I'm calling. I'm now going to add this into this my tag. So I'm now going to say tag set children, use it to add children for a given tag. What children means elements inside a particular tag. When I now run this now and I call my tag, so you can see that I'm going to be having span inside this particular div. So I'm just going to now add, I'm going to say tag set children. Then this time around it's just the child I'm using, and I'm going to be adding, let's see, span granddaughter. So let's run this and see what we have. Now if I should now call this again, and I called my tag, let's see. So you can see that span has now another span, which is granddaughter. So you can see what we just did in this place. So this is how this tag set children actually works. If I had to add a child or children, this time what we just did earlier was create. What if I want to add? I have a div now with a class of parents and elements a tag and child1. If I want to add another tag, which is child2, I'm just going to use tag append child. Tag append child, my tag, and the other tags I want to append. And if I should call my tag, you can see that what I've already added child2 to it. Now this is also a function. This is a function with the argument color. So tags button. So this is also style. So if the color is not null, then we should paste the following attributes, which is color, and also the p tag is going to be hello. So this is the function. And if I call this my button blue now, you can see what is returning for me. So it's going to create, if this is not null, then it's going to create a color for it, and we're going to specify that color in the function, and it creates the p tag, and also it creates the button tag. So if I should call it empty now, it's going to return without any color set to it. You can also use your pipe operator to make things easier when you have functions getting much, and the pipe operator is very easy if you are used to the pipe operator. You first of all, we have a div tag with class CL, and it's this particular div tag has an h1 element in it, or h1 tag or h1 child hello. Then we now pipe it. We are going to append the attribute. So let's just start with this. Let me just show you step by step. You can see we have our div tag. Now we are adding the attribute ID using the tag append attributes. So you can see we have already added the ID, which is my ID, and We're going to append another child to it, which is another element. So we now have two elements, the h1 and also the p tag. So this is how you can also use the child operator. If you want to create a child with 5 elements, you can see we are creating a child now with 5 elements. You just have to use your div tag and you put all the elements in the div tag. You can see the 5 elements. And in base R, you could just use a function to actually create those 5 elements programmatically. So you can see what we just did here. So I'm using the lapply function on a vector of 1 to 5. I'm now going to use a function, because the lapply function takes a particular vector and applies a function to that vector. And this function is going to be applying span I to this particular vector. So when I run this now, you can see I still get the same thing. So to run this particular line now, you need to install the POR package. So try and install it if you don't have it. So then you now run it like this. So once you have it installed, you just run it. So it's supposed to be 3R, sorry. Then you run it. So you can see we also have the same thing. This just also works like the lapply. It's part of the POR package.